David, we are a group that's been meeting for 3 years now.
Wow.
3 years, every Wednesday. I've got some people who are originals. I've got some new people, which are great also. We just love having all different speakers and anybody. This is a community that's open to everyone, whether you're EXP or non-EXP. I've had people bring potential recruits who want to check out our culture into our group. And we've had 3 retreats, and I kind of told you guys about the retreat. So I would love to get your New Hampshire contingency
We'd
to
love
our
that.
retreat. It's going to be the first week in May. We're going to be putting that together very, very soon. But let's
You know
see.
us, we love to travel, so
Oh, I
let's
know
do
you
it.
do. And I'm doing this, heading to White Plains, New York, and jumping on a plane and going back to Florida today.
Oh, good.
So I'm always on the road. Is there anybody who's new on the call today besides David, or anyone who's got a guest? Or hey, Clarence Graham to meeting. Is he? Let's see. Hi. Are you unmuted? Let's see. Can't hear you.
Sound up. He's got to up the sound.
We'll get him on here. All right. I can hear you now. Welcome.
Always update these iPhones and this software.
Where are you from?
I'm in Birmingham, Alabama.
Love it. Birmingham, Alabama. Wouldn't it be cool one day to have all 50 states and Canada on this call? I think we can do that. So how did you hear about this call?
I received a text through, I guess, the network that we I started getting a text from, I guess, with Gene or someone, I guess.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, we are so glad that you are here. And we post these. They will be updated on Jean's website. And I have a YouTube channel with Wake Up Wednesday. Hi, Sarah Gibson. How are you?
Good morning. I'm great.
What's going on in Kentucky?
Well, we're still in a drought. But you know, we're hopefully going to get some rain in the next week or so, and everybody's doing well, happy and healthy, and real estate's been a little bit quiet, which is not a terrible thing.
Okay.
But, yeah, so that's what's going on here.
Great. Well, we're glad you're on. Who else? I've got Brandy. Hey, you guys. Jump in, say hi. Got some good people. We always have great people on the call.
Hello.
Hi. Remind us where you're from.
North Carolina. We're living in North Carolina. We're not from North Carolina. Raleigh.
Okay.
Yeah, we're originally from Southern California, and I was born in Connecticut.
Where in Connecticut? Did we have this conversation?
Yeah. Okay. I think we were born pretty close to each other. So
yeah, I was born in New Haven.
that's where I was born.
At Yale New Haven Hospital. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
separated at birth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got some, let's see who else. Stacy's there, Bill's on the call, Sarah. Jonathan's coming in from Maryland. We're all good. So we're going to start, and people always trickle in. So I am so excited to introduce David to you guys. As you know, I went on the Build Cruise, Build at Sea, and having an event on the East Coast really brought a lot more East Coast people there, people that I hadn't seen. And even though he's literally in my backyard, you're not that far away from me. We're in New England. You know, I joke with people, I can, within the time of this call, I can be in Connecticut, Rhode Island, and all the way to Massachusetts. So we are a small part of the country, but we are a strong part of the country. And on the cruise, I got to meet David and his family. And, you know, we're talking, and I'm like, who is this dude? Wow, what an incredible background he's got going on. So, of course, I said, would you please be on Wake Up Wednesday? And he said yes. After, did you just do an Alaskan cruise?
I did. We just got back about a week or so ago. Yeah, it was phenomenal.
So they started the month in Nassau and they ended in Alaska. How would you
Yeah.
guys like to have that life?
And
Yeah,
we worked a little bit in between for sure.
you must, because the amount of homes that you sell is amazing. So he is a top producer. But what I want to hear a little bit about was you were out in LA working with some pretty record industry high names up there. And then you got into real estate and you're top in your class, you're top realtor of the year, 4-time icon agent, 8-time best Zillow award winner. Guys, this is in a sleepy state called New Hampshire, right? So if you think you can't do it where you are in a big city, I want you to look at what is happening in New Hampshire. So I'm going to just turn it over to you and say welcome and tell us whatever you like, and we'll jump in and ask questions.
Well, thank you so much for having me. The reason I go to those events is exactly what happened. I love to meet people. I love to meet people from all different parts of our country and different walks of life. And it's just, that particular event was so great because it was just such a small community. If nobody has heard Peggy's presentation, it was absolutely phenomenal. And
Thank you.
it really connected with me and we had an opportunity to talk. So I'm super happy to be here. And I was on the call a couple weeks ago with my brother-in-law, Brian, who was a guest and just absolutely loved it. Yeah, my background, I guess, is a little interesting. I had a 20-year career in the music industry before I got into real estate. I grew up in New Hampshire, a really small town. My dad was in the Air Force, and we've kind of traveled all over. But when I graduated high school, I thought I was going to be a rock star. I thought I was going to be the next, John Bonham and the next Led Zeppelin. And I tried that for a couple years, and then classic story was $700 in my pocket and a beat up car. I, went out to Los Angeles and I thought, I didn't want to sleep on floors anymore. And I thought maybe I could get into the business side of music. And so, that's really what I did. I just, like anybody, when you're starting a career, whether it's in real estate or it's in, whatever industry you are, you just try to hustle. And I just worked really, really hard. I interned for record labels. I always tell this story. My first year I was working for $100 a week in lunch money. That was pretty pretty much it. And slowly but surely, we made some good relationships and connections, and the career grew. And by the end of it, we had some successful artists and some records, and it was a very, very fun and exciting career for a long time.
So you want to share with us, what was your highlight of that career? Because I'm sure you met a lot of people. What record label were you working for?
So I was working for Warner Brothers Records, a label called London Sire, and I was head of A&R. So my job was to sign artists and help produce records, and that was really fun. I got an opportunity to work and know Lisa Marie Presley really well, and that was a highlight. We had an artist named Meredith Brooks that had a #1 single with a song called Bitch back in the Lilith Fair days. And that was really exciting. And I really loved working with, young bands too. That process of, finding a band in the garage that was just, trying to put it together and taking them through the process of development and getting a record deal was always really exciting. Yeah, I love that a lot.
That's a great story. So you leave New England, you go out to LA with less than $100 in your pocket, a car, and you work as an intern, and you've got this successful career, signing people to record labels. Coming from the music industry with my husband, that's a big deal.
Yes, yes.
And how do we get to real estate and you being one of the #1 agents? I mean, come on.
Well, it's a long and winding story, and I'm very transparent about this, and we probably have some connections here. I've told this story before. I was very blessed to get everything that I ever dreamed of as a kid in New Hampshire. When you have that checklist of what you want to have when you break out of the small town, right? I lived in Los Angeles. I had, some success in the business. I had all the perks and excitement of that particular business, the financial success. And to be quite frank, it was completely nothing but emptiness. It was a real kind of soul crushing moment where you realize that at 30, late 30s, that you had everything that you had ever hoped to have, and it wasn't bringing you the joy that you thought it was going to bring you. And so for me, alcoholism showed itself, and that was a path that I thought was going to quelch the soullessness of what I was feeling. I thought it was going to fill that hole. And funnily enough, I'd never been a drinker my whole life. Alcohol was never really a part of my life. I was the guy that would nurse a beer in the corner for hours. But as the pressure of the business and as that feeling, that chasm of like, here's all the stuff and all the emptiness on this side, it was something that I leaned into. And very rapidly, it kind of threw my career in a little bit of a tailspin. I've been 15 years sober now, but that, I made a point this year to talk about this because I've never really talked about it. I've never shied away from it. If somebody asks me a question, I'm always very honest about it, but I never really wore it on my sleeve. But coming up on 15 years sober, I thought, you know what, this really was a part of how my life turned around. And if you don't share that part of it, it just seems like, your life was a cakewalk, and that doesn't really resonate with most people, right? We've all had massive challenges, and we've all had ups and downs in all different areas. And so for me, it really getting back to New Hampshire was a recalibration. And so in Los Angeles, when that alcoholism took effect and kind of really derailed me, I actually moved to Florida for a little bit, and kind of a funny part of my story. And I don't talk about it much because it's one of those things where you can't just casually drop it at a cocktail party without sounding like you're being obnoxious. But a good friend of mine was involved in the discovery and the salvage of Titanic. And so I had built a career in marketing, in entertainment. And so my friend said, why don't you get out of Los Angeles, get out of that environment, come to Florida. We're doing this Titanic expedition. You can be our media director and help us bring that to the public. And it'll give you kind of a way to regroup. And so I moved to Florida, and I was involved in this Titanic project for about 5 years. I had an opportunity to dive Titanic, which was just unbelievable. That was never on my checklist, and was certainly glad that I had that opportunity. And through that is where recovery really came, and wound up back in New Hampshire when I had that fork in the road moment to decide, now that I'm healthy, am I going to go back to LA and reboot this entertainment career, or am I going to try something different? And for me, I felt the healthiest thing was to go where family was. And so I came back to New Hampshire about 15 years ago, where my family was. Some really good friends were in real estate. My significant other, she and I have been together 15 years, her whole family was in real estate. And so it just seemed like the skill sets that I had in the music industry and entertainment and marketing were a really good fit for real estate. And so that's how my real estate journey started.
And I have to say, because I have tears in my eyes, and I cried on the beach that day with you and on stage. You're one of the lucky ones, and your family is blessed, because I lost my husband, as everybody knows, 10 years to alcohol. So whenever I hear a success, I just,
yeah,
I can't. So just keep going. That's where we connected on a different level, but that's where we connected also when he told me that, he was celebrating that much sobriety. And what I love is that you can come back from anything. I truly believe. And your family, you made the decision. And so you could have easily gone back to LA and said, hey, I got this disease, I'm good, whatever. But no, you decided, and it took a lot of courage to go, all right, what were you, 30 something years old, 40 years?
I think I just turned 40 at that time. Yeah.
To get into real estate.
Yeah.
So, okay, fast forward, top agent, icon. Let's hear how you do it, because you are a strategist, and we want everybody on this call to become an icon agent. We have some icon agents, but I would just love it if we could get all icons on Wake Up Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I started out like everybody else. I had some history and I had some background, and I was super blessed to have people that were very successful around me in real estate when I started. And I say this all the time. I'm going to steal it from Tony Robbins, but success leaves clues. The people that we surround ourselves with is absolutely indicative of the path that we're going to take. And so I was very blessed that when I started my career, even though I started from zero, it's not like I had some huge war chest or I had these clients in the pipeline, but I was surrounded by people that were extremely successful in real estate. And so what that allowed me to do, if I had open ears and I was willing to learn, was to really kind of jump a couple years of flailing around. And so I'm a firm believer in coaching. I'm a firm believer in not being the smartest person in the room and really trying to surround yourself with people that are succeeding and know more than yourself. So the first thing I would say is really try to do that. Really look at who is around you, no matter where you are in the chain of events in terms of growing your business. Really figure out who you're surrounding yourself with. The other thing is, and I say this to my kids all the time, and I had this spirit and energy when I was in LA, is this concept of this spirit of yes. A lot of times we want to see the finish line and we want to understand how we're going to get to the finish line before we commit to doing something. And I think if you enter with a spirit of yes, meaning that you say yes to things, you make yourself available for opportunities. I can absolutely trace some of the biggest deals that I've had for things that on their surface did not look like anything. I had a mobile home sale that turned into a very lucrative, larger sale 2 years down the line, but it was because I said yes to that experience. Now, I'm not saying that we chase every single thing there is and go down every rabbit hole, but I think there is a different energy when you kind of enter your day with that optimism and that trying to look at what could this thing lead to, as opposed to that immediate knee jerk we have sometimes to shut things down. So I think that was super helpful. The other thing I think too, and some of this stuff just sounds so corny because it's just kind of human nature, right? It's the most base things. But I was thinking as we were on this cruise at Build at Sea, a lot of the talk was about AI, and we had a phenomenal speaker, and we learned an immense amount. And I am absolutely a believer that AI is going to take up a huge portion of space in our world and how we're going to operate. But I think the thing that is going to be really powerful is it's going to make authenticity even more important, because there's going to be so much of AI generated content and AI generated interaction that rapport and authenticity from us as realtors to our clients is going to be just paramount, right? Even more so than ever. But one of the things that I've always tried to do is build that level of rapport with my clients so that they really understand that I'm listening, that I'm understanding what their goal is. I think sometimes we can get so focused on the tactical part of real estate that we forget that this is really one of the most human interactions there are, right? You're helping somebody find a home where they're going to raise their family, or somebody who's gone through a divorce and they're going to rebuild their life, or a young man that's getting his first condo to kind of get on the path to tackle the world. Like, these are really kind of monumental things. And if you think about the most intimate and emotional things that happen in your home, right? Not only is it a big investment, but it really is an emotional thing. And I think sometimes when we forget that, we miss the mark a little bit. And so I've really tried to focus on that, and that's been helpful.
So what are some of the things right now, because there are different markets obviously going on all around the country. Some agents are having their best year. Some agents can't even get off the ground. They're struggling. What sets it apart? What do you see in your area, and what are you doing to keep on going and not letting a mindset of, oh, this is a horrible market, get in the way?
Sure. You just nailed it right there when you talked about mindset. One of the things that I have to do this for myself too. I mean, we're all human. We don't wake up every single day flawless in terms of our mindset. So there has to be some ritual to it. But I tell myself this, and I tell my team that I work with, we've got to protect that mindset with everything we've got, because the second we start in on the water cooler talk, or the second that we
Mhm.
start to let ourselves get down the rabbit hole of, oh my God, the market is so horrible and this is my worst year ever, it really has a profound effect on how we move forward. Now, that's not to say that we all need that ability to vent, and there's a moment and an appropriate time to just let it all out and go, holy shit, this this is an awful week or an awful day or
Right.
quarter. But it, again, like Tony Robbins says, we've got to give that a minuscule amount of time and focus, right? So give yourself the 5 minutes to get it all out, but really protect your mindset. That's one. The other thing too is I'm a firm believer that there is so much that can be done in those lulls. I think one of the things that we make a mistake at is we say, "Oh my gosh, I'm not busy and the phone's not ringing and whatnot," and we get paralyzed, right? So
Right.
we're waiting for that phone to ring, and we go, "Wow, well, this would be a perfect time for me to dive into my database. This would be a perfect time to look at my marketing message. This would be a perfect time to take that, 6-week coaching session that I never had time to take because I was so busy. This would be the perfect time to maybe I'm going to go to the gym a little bit more because I want to have more energy. I want to have, I want to show up when it does get busy in a different way." And so I think that's a key component, is to really try to protect the mindset so that we don't get down that rabbit hole and figure out, well, what can I do while we're having this um, low, which I think nationally we're all seeing that. But again,
Mhm.
like people say, somebody is going to have their best year ever
Right.
in any market. We can go to Lincoln, Nebraska, and somebody is going to have their best year and knock it out of the park. So it's not universal that people are going to fail this year.
I totally agree with you. And, obviously with me traveling everywhere, I talk to agents and, I can be in the same town and somebody is like, oh my gosh, I've never had a year this great. And then you've got someone going, oh my God, the interest rates, this, that. And it's like, shut up. I
Yeah.
hate to say that, but
Yeah.
you just want to say, what are you doing? Stop. You're in your own head. You're in your own way. So when you get down like that, and you said you take classes, I don't mean get down, but you know what I'm saying. You have
Yeah.
those moments. Um, have you taken anything in classes lately that you would recommend? What are you seeing? Or what are some of your go-tos? Whether
Well,
it be videos, YouTube, EXP stuff.
yeah, I mean, for me, a lot of it tends to do with mindset. Like I'm a big believer that it starts there. So, a lot of the things that I have done are probably not necessarily real estate related. I get into every book that I wanted to read, whether it's Ed Milet's The Power of One, or it's Atomic Habits, or it's Tony Robbins is doing an online, UPW, all of those type of things, because I believe that the tactical part is the easy part, and not to downplay the tactical part, but that is a logistic thing that we can learn. That protecting the mindset and having that vision is the thing that I think we need to feed more of, so, and again, I think when we're busy, we tend not to look at those things. We tend to or I'm too busy to look at that, but I would recommend anything that has to do with mindset, that has to do with goal setting. I think look at your business, right? Everybody, I think if we're all honest with ourselves, we all know where our Achilles heel is in our business, right? If we get to that quiet place, we go, oh, I'm horrible at working my sphere, or I'm really bad at my systems, or I'm really not aligning with my follow through, right? And it's different for everybody. So maybe just in those quiet moments, doing that, we had Brian, you had Brian on the other day, he always talks about the autopsy of the deal.
Yeah.
After that deal is done, or after that quarter that you thought wasn't the best quarter, really dive in with a notebook and an open mind, and go, okay, where did I do great, and where am I missing the mark here? And it's going to be different for everybody where you want to kind of fill in that content.
And it's so good that you brought that up, because I believe the first week in October, I'm going to do check your vitals on your business.
Love that.
Just kind of do a third quarter checkup, because right now you're setting yourself up for 2026,
100%.
folks.
Yeah.
Basically, the year's over. And so I want to know what you're going to do in January. So we'll definitely talk more about that. And one thing, when you were talking about your mindset, here's the difference of, I've been in this business a long time. I've had my license for over 40 years. And yes, everybody used to go to the office, but the offices were small and you could hear everything that was going on. I mean, when I first started out, people didn't have private offices. We were in what was called a bullpen. And even up until 5 years ago, when I had a Keller Williams, so I was running the Laguna Beach Keller Williams office, I had over 200 agents. I had 20 private offices that were full and a huge bullpen. The difference of where we are today and the difference of an office, and write this down because it's going to be really important for you when you talk to people about, oh, I need an office. When you go into that office, you become who's ever in a pissy mood that day. If your front desk person at the front desk greeting everybody isn't having a good day, that sets the tone for the staff. If your agents are sitting in the bullpen and you go to use the copy machine and you hear them bitching, that sends the tone again. The great thing about having a cloud-based company is that you don't have all that water cooler crap. You don't have that constant, gnawing at you where you become dependent. Your mindset is becoming dependent on what shows up. If your manager's not in a good mood, forget about it. So when you talk to people about, oh, I love going into my office, tell me more about that. Ask questions. Find out what they're really, ask them what the culture's like. Wow, that's great. Is everybody always in a good mood? Do you sit in the bullpen? Just ask questions and listen, because I find that's a huge shift from being in an office for over 30 something years to being able to get on a Zoom or working on my own, or whether it's sitting in the car making phone calls. Wherever you create, you're responsible. You're not that codependent on, because let's face it, we get into it, folks. You walk in and you say, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Well, you do it. So that's one of the things I love about the culture that we've created. And just like Wake Up Wednesday and other groups and stuff, we don't have any back and forth. You come into these Zoom meetings, people are serious. People are taking the time out of their day to learn something, whether it's our Zoom or Gene's Generals or anybody else's that has a Zoom meeting. Wow, everybody's always upbeat. You don't have that opportunity to bitch. Right, David? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and it's funny because from the attraction standpoint, you get that question all the time. Well, I'm used to going into an office, and how do you do that? And my response always is, the benefit of the cloud base is that you get to curate your culture. You get to curate who you're going to spend your time with. Because let's be honest, going into the office and sitting in the cubicle, and like you say, now you're exposed to whatever 4, 5, 7 agents are in there. That's dictated to you. When you're in a cloud-based brokerage and you either have your home office or a work share or however it is, you can curate who those people you want to have around you. And we do coffee meetups, we do, lunch and learns, we do all sorts of things to still get together, but we're curating that 5, 7, 10, 30, whatever the event requires, of who we want in our sphere, which I think gives you the benefit of both worlds. I find myself, and I didn't have a previous experience where I was in a culture like a Keller Williams or a Reinvention, so I can only speak to it from what I've heard. But I find, and I hear from agents all the time, that our culture is much more connected, even though technically we're not connected with the big, office with 62 cubicles, which I find interesting.
And the other cool thing, and I'm going to talk to Sarah, because what do you talk about all the time? You have a standalone office. You've created a culture, and you're like, oh, hell no, I'm not letting that in my office. Right, Sarah? How important is that to you?
Oh, my goodness. We have a no drama zone. I also have a no asshole policy in my business. I don't have to work with them. I'll let somebody else. But no, it's very important. And I've been fortunate enough to have an assistant for, I don't know, I don't even know how long she's been with me, 7, 8, 9 years. I really don't even know. But it's important to her. It's important to me. And so we very much protect that.
That's the key, is you can't protect what's going in a brick and mortar when you're part of a company, and that's what you show up. You get the opportunity to build and choose your culture. And Sarah and I go back and forth on this all the time about attraction, and you don't have to let them in either. That's the other thing. I'm sorry, we're full. If you need it for a closing or whatever, let me know. I'm happy to, but you're not parking your shit here, right, Sarah? It ain't.
No, no,
It's not happening.
we just can't do it. We cannot do it.
You can't do it because it does affect you. So thanks, Sarah. And she's got a great office. If you guys ever get to Paducah, not Podunk, but Paducah, Kentucky, you got to go visit Sarah's office because from the second you walk in, you just want to live there. It's beautiful and the culture is amazing. And not everyone has an office like Sarah does, but we have home offices. So that's really important. I think that's going to change your mindset for where your business is too, because if everybody else is having a crappy whatever, you're going to have a crappy whatever. So David, let's jump, because you talk about your success with Zillow. And a lot of times we talk about Zillow, and let's face it, different people have different opinions about Zillow. Apparently it's worked very well with you. How has that worked well? Tell us about your success.
It's worked very well, and you're right. There are very differencing of opinions. I mean, one of the people I respect most in this business is Brian. And his opinion is totally different than mine on Zillow. For me, when I first got in the business, it seemed apparent to me that that's where people were going, and that the shift was happening. And at the time, it was very inexpensive to buy into Zillow, and so my thought process was, if I can carve out some market share with Zillow in my community, that would very quickly elevate me and kind of jump the line a little bit from having to build those relationships, and it worked very well. And my other thought process was that when I was calculating my ROI, I was never looking at it as a one-to-one. I was never looking at it as I paid X for this lead and I got one buy or one sell out of it. But typically I would wind up selling to the, best friend and the sister and the brother, and they would be a buy and a sell. And so that made the ROI much more valuable. I will say very transparently, as the cost per lead has increased with Zillow, it's changed my opinion on Zillow. I don't believe it's a bad system. I believe that there's absolute success to be had in it. But there was a period in time when I was spending an enormous amount of money on Zillow. And it did what it needed to do. It galvanized that market share for me. And what we've done over the last year or two, because we hit kind of that point where we had sold enough houses and we'd had enough good experiences with those sales, that the natural sphere was now kicking off a much larger referral base that allowed us every year to decrease the Zillow spend, which, 8 years ago was kind of the thought process that if we can front load it to get where we've got this, really nice balance of sales, that then we can kind of pull off it into some more less expensive lead generation, because it's super hard now because it is so expensive cost per lead for a young agent to get in on Zillow like I could eight or 9 years ago.
So what do you recommend to agents who need a kickstart right now or just getting started? Are you a mentor? I've never asked you that question.
Yeah, I am. I've got, I think I've got the 5 agents that are on my team all came over from the mentorship program. I have done it where I only mentor people that I'm either sponsoring or that are on my team, just based on time constraints. But I love that process. For me, it's always been about how to work that sphere, how to make sure that people in your group know what you're doing. I think sometimes we get nervous about letting people know that this is what we do. I don't know how many times we've seen that, where a young agent will come in and there's a timidness to actually let the world know that this is what we do. So I think that's the first thing, is really trying to make sure that those around us know what we're doing. Secondly, back to that spirit of yes, I think as a young agent, you really have to be open to that spirit of yes. Take every open house you can take every showing you can take, support every other agent that you can take. I really, when I've had young agents, I'm trying to get them as actively involved in every facet of it, because I think just, by osmosis, that energy, puts off leads for sure.
And I've asked you this question because we have new agents, we have seasoned agents. Sometimes, and we say this all the time, you need to go back to basics. When was the last time you went to a networking event? When was the last time you went to a chamber, or you just went and did open houses on Sundays and saw other agents and got to know the property? Yeah. This is definitely, we talk about AI, I use it every day, but it's not going to take the place of the relationship. The building of that relationship is so important. And I also feel that, and it goes back to conversations Sarah and I have, is that you want your offer accepted. I mean, I listen to Sarah on the phone a lot when I'm with her, and I love who she becomes. It's who she is, but she brings that over to her calls. She's never upset. She wants to be their best friend. She wants to make sure that they're going to pick her offer. She compliments them. And I'm sure I haven't had the opportunity to hear others, but I'm just pointing out that is so important right now, because AI can't take that away from you. The relationships you have with other agents is critical. And if you're not going out and going to open houses or going to broker previews or going to the local meetings, I don't know what you're doing, because you're not in business. Would you agree, David?
Yes,
it's
and you bring up such a powerful point, and this is absolutely a mantra in my business. It's got to be a win-win. And again, that sounds corny, but I think there are some agents that come to the table with this is my side, this is your side, and it's adversarial right across the that first moment of the interaction. And I always say, at the end of the day, we're both trying to accomplish the same thing, right? Mm-hmm. And especially in a smaller market, it may not be the same in some larger urban markets, but certainly in a smaller market, we're all running into each other constantly. And so I know absolutely for a fact that I've had offers accepted that were in multiple offer situations, because they knew that they were going to get to the finish line, and they knew that the experience was going to be professional and pleasant. And again, and I'm sure they shared that with their sellers. And I know in scenarios where I've been in a multiple offer situation representing a listing, and all things being equal based on the tactical part of it, I would say, look, I've done X number of deals with this person. They're phenomenal to work with. I promise you that we're going to have a nice, smooth interaction. And I've had some challenges with this agent. And so I think that how we show up to our other agents is absolutely critical. The other thing is a really growing part of my business over the last couple of years has been referrals from other agents. Huge. Not only locally and in this kind of tri-state area that I work, but also nationally, where I've built relationships and have been able to vet agents for other buyers and sellers, and it's all based on the fact that you've put yourself out there. People recognize you and respect you as somebody that might have some insight and some knowledge, and that opens up a whole other avenue for revenue.
I want to say something, and I do not want this to get into a big discussion. Obviously, over the past week, I don't care whether you believe in it or not, what your views are with Charlie Kirk, do not put him on Facebook. I have been blown away with what professionals, realtors, my friends, my colleagues, and I'm not just talking about Charlie, I'm talking about elections, I'm talking about everything. People are watching you. And whether it's what you put on social media, how you show up at events in town, how you hold yourself, just how you show up everywhere. But right now, the most important thing, yes, we have great platforms, but what do you want people when they are interviewing you? What do you want people to see on your feeds? You know, you want them to see you out on a drink fest? Or do you want them to see that, hey, I'm doing things in the community? You know, when we become realtors, we do have a code of ethics. And thank you. I'm on a soapbox for a minute because I'm just like flipping out of some of the things I've seen and so disappointed in people. You are a realtor 24/7. And if people are not looking at you, and if you don't think people are watching you, whether you're in the grocery store, whether you are at a dinner party, whether you're putting posts up, people are watching you and they are constantly interviewing you. And you don't just go for the interview the day you show up for the listing. They already know who you are now. They've checked you out. So that's my soapbox. I just had to say, please be cognizant. You know, I just, even when elections, if I had a listing during an election period, I would talk to my sellers and I would say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I know that you are politically attached to X, Y, and Z. However, let's not have that on your front lawn while your house is for sale. Let's kind of step it back a little bit because we don't know what other people are looking at. But with realtors, was it Brian or last week, they were talking about open houses. You are being interviewed the second you walk in. So the buyers and sellers walk in to that particular open house. I don't want we got enough crap going on. I just know that everyone here is so freaking professional. And that's how we need to show up for the other agents, because you don't want that other agent pulling up your social media posts when they're on a listing and they hear that, you know, hey, I'm also interviewing so-and-so. You don't know what other agents will do. So just be careful. That's all. That's enough of my soapbox. Sorry, guys.
Well, just to piggyback on that for a second, right? At the end of the day, my feeling has always been that anybody buying or selling a house, regardless of what side of the political fence they're on, deserves that right to be represented professionally and have
Absolutely.
a phenomenal outcome. And when we do align ourselves publicly on one side of the fence or the other, we're automatically distancing ourselves from 50% of the buying and selling population. So I have a very similar stance that I'm supportive of whatever your view is in private, but we have a policy within our group that that's not something that we're sharing publicly, because I want both sides of a political stance to feel comfortable in buying or selling a home, and that's my job, is to help them do that.
Exactly. I mean, when I was buying and selling real estate, I used to get dressed up just to go to the freaking grocery store. I mean, because I used to wear a name badge, right? Because, you know, you want people, it was different then, but you never know. And that is key with relationships. We want the referral business. Tucker, you're being quiet down there in Texas. You've been in business a long time, Tucker, and just as I have, so I'm not calling you out on that. Relationships. Are you relating to what we're saying here and what David said about relationships and how
1,000,000%. Peggy and David, I'd love to have your phone number. And Sarah, check the chat. Anyway,
he wants your number, Sarah.
Yeah. I want to introduce you to a friend in Lexington. Anyway, relationships to me are everything. And you both are very, very correct. You've got to show up daily with a smile on your face and know what's going on in the marketplace. Know that the prime rate may change today, you know, and I bet a buddy of mine yesterday that it's going to change half of a point. He said, he didn't think more than a quarter of a point. I think politically that this guy is an idiot. I think an 8-year-old in economics could understand what he's doing. But
so, okay, wait a minute. Hold up on that. I'm going to go to Evelyn. Are you on? You listening? Are you walked away. I'm not sure because 6 o'clock in the morning there. 6. Okay. When Evelyn comes back, I want her opinion since she's our mortgage person on what she thinks are going on with rates. But again, thanks, Tucker. It is about relationships. So what are some of the things that you guys are doing? Stacy, I know you're driving. Can you talk? See if she can unmute without getting into an accident here.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I do.
Hey.
You are posting things. You are giving such information. David, you got to follow Stacy. She's amazing. Talk about what you're doing with social media and what you talk about.
Okay, well, I actually have like 3 main things that I talk about. Obviously, real estate. I really love first-time home buyers because I just love to encourage them and show them that they are able. If you can rent a property, you are able to purchase a home. You just have to make the right plans. So I give them education. I created a free online first-time home buyers course for them that I send to people all the time. I even send to other realtors. And then I have another one because I'm doing the Fast Attract with Annie, where I am like kind of giving it to realtors, and I'm talking about how awesome EXP is and different things like that. And then I also do the mindset thing because above all and everything, if we don't have a right mindset, we're dead in the water. So those are like my 3 main points that I like to video myself talking about and give it to the public. So
yeah. And what I love, Stacy, about yours, you're not in a studio. It's nothing fancy. You just show up and shoot, correct?
Correct. Yep, I do it once a month on a Saturday. I take like 3-4 hours and I shoot like 30 videos. And they're short, 30-second, 45-second videos. And I have that done. And then every morning I edit it and post.
It's amazing. I love it. She's doing a great job. Anybody, Brandy and Lance, what are you guys doing? Jump in.
Mine's all about social media too. I do relocation is where my heart is. So I give little snippets of why people want to be in certain locations. It's all about education. And the first time home buyer is getting older and older. I read somewhere the other day, it used to be 29 and now it's 39. And this year I've helped 5 people over the age of 50 first time buyer that didn't think it was possible. So it's finding those yeses like he was talking about. If interest rates is an issue, well, what about all the new construction that start, at a 299 and bump up to a 499 fixed? It's finding solutions. They don't have money. Getting together with your lender and finding out what programs are available. I helped a first time buyer that was able to borrow an interest-free second payback for $150 a month, and they didn't think it was possible to get in. They had $5,000 to their name. So it's finding the opportunities that become a yes, where they see a no, you show them where the yes is, and it's just educating.
I love that, and that's such an interesting statistic. I didn't realize that the age of first-time home buyers is getting, later, older.
Yes.
If you want some statistics, you need to ask her.
She's got
She
it.
is oh my gosh.
Fun facts.
She's very analytical.
I love it. I love it. That's great. Pat, you just jumped on camera. Hi.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Where are you located?
I'm in the Chicago area. I live by Wrigley Field, and I just joined EXP. I'm doing the Fast Track also.
Congratulations!
Yeah, thank you. So I've been in business for a while. Mostly I do fix and flip rehab loans, more of the non-QM. I have my license for mortgages, but mostly I do mortgages versus the real estate. But obviously, networking and I love the mindset topic because that's really the first thing in the morning. If you don't have a plan, you're in deep trouble. So thanks for having me.
Great. How'd you hear about it? Is this your first time on?
I think you might have popped on with Epic, I think.
Oh, yeah, I have. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I saw you on the calendar, so I just clicked us. Oh, it was 8 o'clock Wednesday. I should just hop on.
Well, we're glad you're here. Keep coming back and, feel free to jump in. We love everybody's opinion. We
Yeah.
are an open group of communicating. So, David, what are some of the things, strategies, what can people do today? What do you like? You've got someone that you're talking to, or tell us what's your day going to look like today? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but
No worries. I'm actually in database mode this morning, and then I've got 2 listing appointments this afternoon. I love what our friend here was talking about statistics. I think being educated is certainly important too. And back to what we were talking about is what to do in these downtimes. Again, the more educated we are, the more authoritative we can be, the better we are at guiding our clients. So when you ask, well, what can we do? Showing up as the experts that we're supposed to be is super helpful, because if you think about it, those buyers and sellers right now, they're scared, they're nervous, they are still hearing the remnants of, oh my gosh, I got a 3% interest rate and I sold my house for $100,000 over in 48 hours, and they're on the fence about what to do. And so
right.
as much as sometimes we think buyers and sellers are know-it-alls and they can be frustrating, they really are looking to us to give them some guidance, to give them some insight, and give them, the path out. And so I think one of the things is really just trying to show up as educated as we can. Again, I think in marketing, anything that we do right now, we've got to remember it's entirely a different market than it was in COVID. So I think, and I hope this doesn't sound disrespectful, but I think a lot of agents got a little bit lazy during COVID, because you could put a house on the market with really no additional marketing. You could kind of throw it to the masses and it moved quickly. I think now it is even more important that we're doing professional photography, that we're doing those walkthroughs, that we're really trying to make sure in every way that we can, we're getting that person off the couch to come see that home, which I think is super important.
Absolutely. So what do you do for marketing? When you get a listing, where do you spend your dollars? How do you handle all that?
Well, we do a couple things. The first thing we do, and I say this all the time, is my first job is to get people off the couch, right? So whether it's a $350,000 condo or it's $1 million property, we're doing top to bottom visual marketing. So we're doing professional architectural photography, we're doing video walkthroughs, we're doing floor plans, we're doing drone. So we're really trying to create as much of a template so that they understand the house as best as possible. We do digital advertising with Facebook. We do direct marketing to homes in that neighborhood. Because again, if you live in a neighborhood and that house is coming for sale, that neighbor probably knows somebody that wants to be in that market. So I think, direct marketing to our database we do. And the other thing too, and again, back to what we were talking about, relationships, I tend not to just blast things out to every agent I know, because how many of us open our email box in the morning and we've got 97 open houses and somebody's sending me an open house from an hour and 40 minutes away, right? But what I do is I have a very specific kind of curated list of go-to realtors that I know are working in my market, that I know are typically handling people in my price points, and I'm making that personal call to them. And I'm doing that usually. Bingo. I'm doing that sometimes before I've even done the photography, where I'm really trying to make sure that my core group knows. And what's a benefit of that is that I tend to then be on their list when they're prepping a house for market.
David, I love what you just said. When I would get a listing, I would go into MLS and I would figure out, okay, who's my potential buyer for this house? So I would call everybody. If I had a lower priced home, I would go to the agents and call them personally who had the condos, or if I had whatever the buy up was. And those are the people you pick up the phone and you call.
Yes.
Nobody's doing that. No. I love that you said that. That I'm telling you, that's gold. That works.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I think people love, they want to have that relationship. They want to know that you're looking out for them and vice versa. They've got somebody that they can call when they have something.
Exactly. And how cool is it going to be when I say, Annie, you know, I love working with you. I see that you've got this listing. I'm just wondering, where's your buyer going? Would my 123 Main Street be an option for them? Because boy, I'd love to do a deal with you and have you be the co-broke on the other side. And you're telling the truth.
Yeah.
How would you feel, Annie? You got to unmute yourself.
I would love it. Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with that. And I wrote that down. I've got a couple listings coming up and they're unique. And I wrote it down. I said, you know what? I'm going to go and first of all, see all the homes in this certain area.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm ready for my client and the listing appointment, but also it's building those relationship with all those agents that, hey, I've got something coming on the market.
Yep.
Scottsdale, we're in a slow season until January. So just getting it prepped. And I love meeting realtors. You know, that's my favorite part is building the relationships in the sandbox, right?
Mm-hmm.
Playing nice in the sandbox and elevating our relationships above where there are certain realtors that don't play well in the sandbox. And I like to get above that and really, you know, because there are.
Yeah.
We all know that. So we get 2 minutes left. This hour flew by as I knew it would. What do you want to wrap it up with, David? What didn't we cover? We covered a lot.
We covered a lot. Well, first of all, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be on this, and you know, I want to give Peggy a shout out. I mean, it's if you think about how busy our days are, and you think about how we all individually are trying to support our families and grow our business, when an agent does something like Wake Up Wednesdays and really commits to having a place where 10, 20, 100, whoever it is on that day can come and talk. It's really a powerful thing. And so thank you for doing that, Peggy.
You're welcome. It's this group. They keep showing up. I have to show up because, you know, they fill my bucket.
Yeah.
And I say that every day. I get so excited. The night before, I'm like, oh my gosh, so-and-so is going to be a speaker. And I know that this one's going to like it and connect. You never know what you're going to get out of it. And this is just keep going because of everybody who keeps showing up, because I think if I called it off, they would just be like on my phone or show up at my doorstep. I don't know what I would do. So
that means you've created a good community.
It's a fabulous community. We want to keep growing. David, thank you so much for
My
you
pleasure.
saying yes to this. And I hope you got something out of this.
I certainly did. Absolutely. And nice to meet everybody. I definitely got something out of it.
So thanks, guys. I am in Connecticut, driving to White Plains, catching a flight. JetBlue, baby, to Fort Myers this afternoon because I'm going to look for a place to live. I'm going to say bye-bye, California, and go back to Florida. So, and my godson, Jack, who David got to meet, and you guys that were on the cruise got to meet Jack. He's flying down tomorrow. He's actually carrying all my luggage, Sarah. I'm getting on the plane with just carry-on, and Jack's taking 2 huge suitcases for me. So anyways, make it a blessed, fabulous day. Thank you guys for showing up. David, again, we'll talk. I promise.
Safe travels.
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody, have a great day.
I'll see you guys later. Bye.